Okay.
Good morning, everybody. I'm joined today by the lovely Nicola Pybus. How are you, Nicola?
I'm very well. Thank you, Chrissy.
Good. So I'm going to tell everyone about how we met, but can you just briefly introduce yourself, please?
Yes. So I am Nicola, and I am the relationship officer who is a part of the new piloted program being rolled out by BusyAtWork and the Australian government called the Mid-Career Checkpoint Program.
Mid-Career Checkpoint Program, which relates predominantly to
helping moms get back into paid employment after taking time away from work.
That's awesome.
Or not having worked at all because we're looking after our children.
That's right. And I was really happy that you reached out to me, and I was delighted to hear that the federal government has this program. It's basically designed to help women who need a bit of a kickstarter to get back into the career or want to change career or haven't had a career and really need to start earning money, being productive and going back to work. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today. So I am glad that you reached out to me recently, and I think that we're a little bit of kindred spirits. We were both kind of high achieving working women who then became mums, and then no one listened to us anymore. So
oh my God, yep, not even our children.
No, not the children. And it's a big change for a lot of people, but it's also a very quick route to burnout when you're trying to juggle expectations, etc. So we're going to talk a bit about burnout today. And you admitted to me on the phone that you suffered burnout and postnatal depression as a mum. What were the telltale signs for you personally?
So what I found so interesting is that when I was pregnant with my first daughter, I was very aware of postnatal depression. And I had said to my husband, please look out for the signs. And we were going to look out for them. And it creeped up on me so slowly and in the most ungoogled ways. Because if you go onto Google, you can be like, oh, yeah, and that's not me. But it showed up in me in an increased fear around being seen as a mum who couldn't do it all. Because when you come from such a high achieving place and then you get put in the role of mother, I put a lot of pressure on myself to appear to be all, do all, can shoulder it all. And eventually that led to me breaking down, crying, not having a reason to wake up in the morning, not even feeling the need to get up in the morning, no energy, no motivation. And there was nothing that anyone could say to me that made me feel any better. And I found that I didn't have that lust for life anymore. And I wanted space from my husband and my daughter just to sit and like zone out. And yeah, I just wasn't myself anymore at all.
It's really interesting because were you able to articulate that to people at the time or not really?
It's only looking back now that I can see how desperately I needed someone to just reach out to me and ask me, are you really okay? You know, and I probably would have been like, oh, I'm fine, I'm great. Like, oh, and you just put on this mask of pretend because also there's such a stigma around postnatal depression, isn't there? It's seen as like a weakness or, oh, something wrong with her. She's not a good mother. And that for me was the biggest fear, is that I would be seen as a bad mother, or that I would have my children taken away, or, you know, like all these fear-based things that actually aren't true at all, instead of reaching out for help.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that, because I remember going to mothers groups in London when my firstborn came along, and I'd say, oh, it was actually towards the beginning of my second child, I just want to feel a sense of myself again. I've lost me. And mothers would look at me as if I had three heads. And then I thought, I feel guilty. Maybe I shouldn't be saying that. And I didn't have that kind of, you know, people would, you know, obviously complain about how hard it was and lack of sleep and all of those kind of things. But I think that sense of self is not something that's discussed broadly and widely enough. Do you agree?
Yes, absolutely, because you don't recognize yourself anymore as just mother, if you know what I mean. You've been stripped of your previous life, and I found I was mourning that. I was feeling really sad, and then you'd feel guilt around feeling that way. So yeah, it's really difficult to try, and especially as a new mum, when you're running around, your world's been thrown upside down, and then you have everything compounded on top of that, which is not feeling yourself and feeling guilt around not feeling yourself.
Yeah. Okay, cool. We can talk more about that. So what have you had to overcome as a working mother now to kind of feel that balance at home and work?
So it took my second child being born for me to really put my foot down and choose myself. It's not that I'm not putting my children first. I just also realized that if I'm not filling my cup first, I then can't be a good mother. So I made exercise a priority, finding my hobbies again. So just reconnecting with myself on the things that I enjoy, and taking time and not feeling guilty for taking that time to draw, sing, write, play my guitar, go for a surf, go for a run, and see my friends especially, and just reconnect with those people that made me who I am, you know, because I was isolating myself a lot when I was a mum and letting that fear control me. So yeah, it was just to find that balance between work and the kids and everything, just taking time for myself. Doesn't need to be a long time, but to just refocus and say to myself, I'm worthy of doing these things for myself. And yeah, being able to put into myself allows me to put into my children.
That's great. I'm glad you mentioned the word hobbies, because that was something for me, like as an adult, I'd forgotten my hobbies. I didn't know what I enjoyed anymore. And I kind of came up with this three H's, I call it. It's hacks, habits, and hobbies. And if we have some hacks that can help us hack through our challenges, we have some habits that sustain us on a self-care level, and then we focus on our hobbies and what brings us joy, it helps us as a mother kind of overcome some of those obstacles that we face. But I do feel a lot of women obviously let go of their hobbies once they become working mums as well, because it's easier to focus on the kids stuff, you know.
Yes.
And
focus on everyone else except us.
Yeah. But I also noticed that you start to lose that sense of wonder in the world if you're only ever trying to see the world through children's eyes too. Do you know what I mean? Like, you need to have a balance of that wonder. So that's really cool. What was missing for you personally then when it was time to juggle work and kids?
So I found, because I immigrated from South Africa to Switzerland and then to London, I didn't have any family or support. And that has been really difficult, because where you can't just say, oh, hey, mum, can you just watch the baby? You know, you've then got to organize daycare, which is expensive, and you may not be able to afford it. And then, yeah, the whole work-life balance was really difficult, not having a solid support network of friends, which is also something I've really worked hard on now. Because back in London, I was isolating myself and not connecting out, and yeah, not having the support. So I didn't realize until I moved how important family actually is. It does really take a village to raise children, and a lot of the time the village is missing now.
Yeah, and I feel that too. I think it not only does it take a village to raise a child, but it takes a village to nourish and sustain a healthy mum.
That's it. Yeah, because you know, if you look back into the caveman days, women were very family orientated, weren't we? We were, you know, building our baskets and all nattering and chattering, and we would have had all the mothers with all the children together. And now it's not like that anymore. We're very sociable creatures, if you will, women.
Yes. Yeah, I completely agree, because I moved my family from London back to Australia because I felt that I didn't have that support or that advocacy, because I think often you talked about the fact that only in hindsight you recognize that you had symptoms of PND. I think for me as well, in hindsight, I didn't have anyone advocating for me. And because I was in a spiral of 5 years of not sleeping and
Oh my God. Yes.
living in constant state of fear, I needed someone kind and non-judgmental to advocate for me, but I didn't have that, So I do think it's really important that, women have people around them who are generous of spirit to advocate for them, and not in a negative way. You know what I mean? Oh, she needs help, or she's crazy, or she's this, or she's not coping. You know what I mean? Like that, all that stigma really upsets me, I think, for women.
Yeah, absolutely. Previously, before I took this position, I aligned my business with PANDA, which is pre and postnatal depression and anxiety in men and women, just because there isn't enough support around struggling mums and dads when it comes to motherhood and fatherhood. Definitely.
Yes, that's true. So please tell me a bit more about the Australian Government BusyAtWork initiative, which is called the Mid-Career Checkpoint Program.
Yeah, so the name is a little bit misleading, because everyone thinks, oh, is this for when you're having a midlife crisis? But basically, we've been given the opportunity to show the federal government that there is a need for this program in terms of helping men and women who have taken time away from work for the purpose of caring. So and it doesn't have to be your kids. It can be looking after your elderly parents. It could be even looking after your neighbor. Any sort of caring that has taken away from your paid employment, we then give the opportunity to get back into paid employment. A lot of the times, if you've taken time away, you may be struggling with confidence. You may not know how to write your resume or cover letter. You may not know how to turn on a computer, because everything has changed so much. So along with getting back into paid employment, we offer free coaching sessions with our career guides, which takes place every Tuesday and Thursday. It's done online, so it's really accessible. And they will run through all those things. You get to choose which one you would like to do. So say you're not confident and you don't know how to turn on a computer. So then you can log into your confidence coaching session and then log into your digital literacy lesson. And you get that all for free as well. And then you can go through what's called a psychometric test. It's Cognisis. It's really exciting. It's basically like an aptitude test made in the form of a game. And it'll test you on everything, your interests, your goals, aspirations. And it'll pick out all the things that you're good at, and it'll give you information at the end. Basically, it'll take everything, narrow it down, and give you a whole option. So what we found is that a lot of people go, oh my God, I didn't know. Yeah, I would love to do that. And then we help you find the courses available either through TAFE or another RTO and get you enrolled into the course if there is a skills gap. So we don't do training for the sake of training. If someone has the skills necessary to go on into a job role, then we guide them through that. If there is a mum who's really struggling and a big skills gap, that's when you will have access to that up to $3,000, which is paid by the federal government to study a course. And it doesn't have to be one course. It can be multiple courses as long as it doesn't go over that $3,000 barrier. Mm-hmm. So that's the really exciting part, is that you're able then to study a course with a qualification and go on and get back into paid employment.
Yeah, that's really awesome. And how long does the process generally take for a person that starts brand new with you, would you say?
So they have up to 4 weeks to make sure that they get their application through, get their coaching done, and then it's basically up to them. So how hungry are you to get back into work, right? Because we basically want to make sure that the people that are in the program want to be in the program. We don't chase, we don't run after you. If a mum or dad is on Centrelink payments, you don't get a rap on the knuckles, we don't withhold payments like some other companies do. It is completely up to you and in your control, because what we want to do is we want to empower our participants back to the workforce. We don't want to be spoon feeding and holding hands. So we definitely want people who want to be in the program. So it's as quick as you want to make it, basically.
That's really exciting. And the fact that women have access to, let's say, a gift of $3,000 to study something of their choosing, men and women, let's say, is really exciting for Australian men and women, I feel.
Absolutely, because basically there is a huge gap with that, because when you say you're a single mum, you don't have access to a lot of funds, you don't have even $3,000 to throw at a course. So what we have found is that when it comes to some of the mums, they're looking for part-time work. They're looking for that balance. Can I pick my kids up from school? They need that flexibility. So this allows them to find a course that they want to do. It's not, you don't have to go and pack shelves or walk dogs. It'll be absolutely narrowed down to what you're good at. And then you can use those coaching sessions to just get that little edge and get back into employment.
That's really exciting. So what's the most common things you hear from mums that are in the program or have been in the program?
So that would be the balance. Am I able to do part-time work? Is there going to be flexibility in hours? So with what comes out of the test, they are then able to empower themselves to find a job that allows that. So definitely it would be balancing motherhood and work. That's the biggest fear, is, am I going to still be able to pick my child up, etc. Definitely, because I feel like mums we always put our kiddies first.
Yeah. You and I had a bit of a giggle the other day about the classic mum interview question. What are your goals for the next 5 years? And it's like to be on time for school pickup.
Right? Because it is difficult, and it is a juggle, especially those who are doing it by themselves. So that would be the biggest question, but it would be up to them to then get that qualification and find that part-time work, because at least then you've got that money coming in. You can then afford daycare or one extra day of daycare. So it gives them that little bit extra that they need to be able to support their families. Some women are really struggling. There was a number thrown out the other day that 40% of single mums live under the poverty line. That is shocking. So
it becomes a cycle, doesn't it?
We want to get mums and dads back out there and feeling more themselves, because sometimes being stuck at home with your kids just, that's when you lose yourself, and that's when you don't feel good and you don't know what to do, you feel lost. And this is where this program can really, really benefit you.
That's brilliant. So we also chatted a bit about how this program obviously not just helps mum, but if you've been a carer, it also talks to people who've been victims of domestic violence and have been struggling and want to come back to work. Can you give us a few more examples of the outcomes of the program, and also what you hope to see in the future? Because it's not just the role of the individual to change things, it's also the role of the employers to make things easier for people. So, where is your head at with all of that stuff?
Loaded question.
Sorry.
That's right. So basically we have until the end of the year to show the government that this is a necessary program, which we are, and we are doing really well in that regard. So it is likely that this will then roll over next year. And if we show them that Queensland has a gap for it, it means that like statewide around Australia, this program will likely be rolled out. So that is a big goal, because then we really can reach all the mums, all the dads, and all those suffering from domestic violence, or even looking after the elderly parents. So that definitely would be a goal. We obviously want the participants that take place in this program to remain in that paid employment. We don't just want them to do a course and then fizzle out. So it would be really lovely, because we obviously get our feel-good stories that come back to us. Unfortunately, I can't share any today because it's obviously under lock and key. Got to have that signed off. But all the stories have come back really positive, and it's really lovely when you get a mum that comes back and says, God, thank you so much. This has really changed my life. Especially dealing with domestic violence, the ones that have DV cases, being able to secure that paid employment to get them away from those harmful situations. We currently have Hearts of Purple on board with us, which also it's domestic violence. So we will see a lot of really good stories coming out of that.
Oh, I try not to get too emotional because it's very emotional when you talk about stuff like that. So
yeah,
go on, sorry.
So for me, I would say that this is possibly the most fulfilling job role I've ever had in my life, because being a mum myself and having suffered so much, and because I put that on myself to suffer, I really do empathize with other mums. So this has been such a beautiful program to be a part of, and that's why I thought, oh my God, gotta reach out to Chrissy, because we gotta let all the mums know. And yeah, you shouldn't, especially in the DV cases, it can really take a hit to their confidence because they've been squashed down, they've not been treated well, and a lot of the time they will take that within themselves and feel worthless. So that's when those confidence coaching with our career guides are really, really good, because it can help them step back into their power and find their worth again and feel like a human, if you will. So it's been a really beautiful program so far.
We have a huge challenge with domestic violence in North Queensland. You know, the statistics up here are pretty staggering, and each year we do a fundraiser for NQDV, which I am a part of, and it's, you know, really just so upsetting to hear what so many women are dealing with. But you and I also talked the other day about the fact that, you know, homelessness in women is skyrocketing for those in their 40s, 50s and 60s, and this is also something that hopefully this program would help prevent, would you say?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, the prerequisites is have to take time away from work for the purpose of caring. So, yeah, they would have to be caring for someone while they were homeless to be eligible. Because obviously, I would love to put everyone through this program, but they have to be caring for someone, because that's what the government wants to see. So if they're homeless and looking after their children, absolutely,
yes,
put them off the streets.
Yeah, but I'm also kind of referring to later in life when maybe the kids have left home and they've got no savings and no income, and they all of a sudden find that they can't afford to be renting a property, you know, because just the way that the world is right now, it relates to a lot of women as well.
Yeah, so it's very scary when you find yourself, especially in later life. So what we have found also is that if they are not eligible for this particular program, BusyAtWork have got so many other avenues that we can then link them to. So we've got our traineeship and apprenticeships for youth. We've got SCOW, which is for skilled older workers. You know, so there are many other avenues. If someone comes to us and they're really desperate and they don't fit this program, we can go, let's see if we can help you in another area and get you into that. So if it's not going to work with this one, it might work with another one. We don't just go, oh, sorry, can't help you, good luck. Like other companies might do. We really do care about the people that come to us looking for assistance.
That's wonderful. I'm going to share all the links to your work, as well as how they can connect with the program, in the notes of this interview. And to kind of finish off with, what are your top self-care tips for working mums?
Okay, so maybe not a lot of people would agree with me, just because I definitely have a lot of energy now that I've refocused. So self-care for me is meditation. I have found that to be really helpful. And I know everyone will roll their eyes and go, oh my God, I don't want to sit down and try quieten my brain. But I've found that to be really helpful. Running.
Mm-hmm.
If I didn't run, my brain would be a little bit too crazy, I think. So yeah, definitely exercise, getting the boost of endorphins, the feel good afterwards, and taking time for yourself to do the things that you enjoy and not to feel guilty about it.
I think alone time is really important, and it's so hard to carve out the alone time, isn't it?
Yeah, because they'll go, oh, but my kids need me. No, but you also need yourself.
Yeah, yesterday when Mum and I were chatting, she called it cave time.
That's it. The men have their cave, we also need ours.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining me. I'm grateful that you are working hard to help working mums. Thank you. Mums wanting to get back to work. Thank you so much for that. You're welcome to visit us in Townsville and talk about the program. We can host you up here and get some more people listening, because I think there's a huge target market for women here in this region. So do come up here soon.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Chrissy, for allowing me to speak on this today. And I really do hope that other mums will hop on the bandwagon and get hold of it.
Okay, I'm going to share this as widely as possible and hope you will too. And I'll catch up with you again real soon. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chrissy.
Ciao.
Bye.
Bye.